We have with us for this program our distinguished guest, Sri Ajit Kumar Saxena ji, who is Chairman cum Managing Director from Moil Limited, and our chief guest for the day is Dr. N.G. Patil, Director ICR, NBSSN, LUC. I'll now request my director to please present the sapling, the Sri Ajit Kumar Saxena ji. I have no question to offer the sapling to Sri N.G. Patil ji. Many of you already know Dr. Ashok Juwarkar was a scientist with CSIR-NEERI, and this lecture is basically organized every year as a tribute to late Sri Ashok Juwarkar ji. He was former head Land Environment and Management Division of CSIR-NEERI and was a committed, competent, and conscientious environmental scientist. He was born on 6 March 1951 and he joined CSIR-NEERI in 1975 as a junior scientific assistant. He rose to the position of later assistant director. During his tenure at CSIR-NEERI, Dr. Juwarkar received several international recognitions as a land rejuvenation expert. This also includes his work and consultancy to food and agriculture organizations on the bio and organic recycling in Asia and Pacific region. Dr. Juwarkar developed land environment systems for wastewater treatment and rejuvenation of degraded lands. He installed country's first high-rate transpiration system, also called as HRTS system, to treat pulp and paper mill effluent in 1994. He also installed the wetland system at Bhubaneswar to treat wastewater. Dr. Juwarkar led a team of scientists for accomplishing the Supreme Court directed project Conservation of Puri Beach involving design, development, and implementation of high-rate transpiration system to treat and remove domestic water for the Orissa State Water Supply and Sewerage Board. Over 10 hectares of mine scrap dumping site at Manganese Ore Limited in Gurgaon was rejuvenated to lush green forest, employing integrated biotechnological approach. This rejuvenated land was later named as Juwarkar Smriti 1 by Manganese Ore India Limited. Several other wastelands of western coal fields were also rejuvenated under the supervision of late Dr. Ashok S. Juwarkar. He published many research papers in reputed and high impact international journals. It was unfortunate that during one of the assignments on 7 July 1996, when he was traveling for inspection of Hotel Barok Heights in Himachal Pradesh to study the impact of environment, ecology, and safety to comply with the orders of Honorable High Court of Himachal Pradesh, he died in a planned place near Kullu while returning from Shimla. So, with this very brief introduction of this day and the relevance and importance of Dr. Ashok Juwarkar, late Dr. Ashok Juwarkar, to develop this organization, I now will request our director to please come forward and give the welcome address for the day.
Good morning to all. Dignitaries on the dais, my senior colleagues, and my superannuated colleagues, active colleagues from NEERI, students, research students. We are here to hear for Dr. Ashok Juwarkar Memorial Lecture. And, his credentials were read by Dr. Shalini. He had many credentials to his credit, many achievements to his credit. The most important thing is that he did it in practical sense. And he made it visible on the field. And that is the greatest contribution if you remember that something to be taken onto the field. There are always resistance, there are always criticism when you try to translate something onto the field. And he took that challenge and most of his work was related to actual field. He started pioneering work in the utilization of waste for the irrigation and land reclamation purposes. And that was a pioneering work in late 90s or early 90s, you can say. The most important work which is still there, and anybody can go and visit, which is there near to Nagpur, is the reclamation of the waste oil dumps in the manganese ore, manganese mine, that is Moil. Mine belongs to Moil, and this was a proactive work. I would say that that time there was no compliance requirement. There was no court case against mine, but it was a technology of NEERI and it was to be demonstrated at some site. And mine came forward, offering the site and offering all the expenses towards that. And that was a proactive job done by mine and NEERI. And still, you can go and visit that thick jungle, which was basically a barren dump. There was not a single vegetation that time when we started work there. That was to the credit of Dr. Juwarkar. Many such things which were already read by Dr. Shalini. Unfortunately, he met with plane crash while on the official duty, that too under the directives of Supreme Court that time. Because all of the hour he traveled to Kulu Manali and while returning from Shimla, there was a plane crash. That was on 11th July 1996. And his motto remains brought back to NEERI, Nagpur, on 14th July 1996. That was the day his 14th July when the last rites were performed. And therefore, we commemorate this day with the Juwarkar Memorial Lecture, for which we have Director of NBSS, who can be a person who can really be working into ICAR and can know the importance of land reclamation and works related to environment. So we are fortunate to have Dr. Patil for this lecture. Also, we are glad to have CMD Moil, Ajit Kumarji, because Moil is the place which really gave us the importance of fame to this kind of work. And therefore, it's again fortunate to have Ajit Kumarji, CMD of Moil right now. So with this few words, I stop here and request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the work done by late Dr. Ashok Juwarkar and also the relevance of practical field-based work that is done, but definitely increases the visibility of the organization among the public. So for the keynote address on this occasion, we have with us our distinguished guest, Sri Ajit Kumar Saxena ji. And before I invite him, I would like to briefly introduce him with all of you. Sri Ajit Kumar Saxena ji is Chairman and Managing Director at Moil Limited. He has more than 36 years of wide experience in technical, operational, project management and mining domains related to steel sector. Prior to his current assignment, he was Director of Operations at Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited, that is RINL. His breakthrough initiative of starting and pioneering the usage of iron ore microfines, slimes and tailings, which were earlier considered as mining waste, were actually used and mainstream into iron ore sintering process of large integrated steel plant and is now widely regarded as key advancement in utilizing of mining waste for steel sector in current decade. His commitment and efforts in areas of efficient energy management has also been well recognized by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ministry of Power by awarding 1,29,907 energy saving certificates to RINL, which is the highest in the Indian steel industry. He has also been associated with IIT Kanpur in Technology Mission on Railway Safety, Corrosion Resistant Chemistry, Railway Safety as Academia Industry User Collaboration Research Project for development of economically viable corrosion resistant chemistry rate. He is also proud recipient of the Young Metallurgist of the Year Award for the year 2000 by Ministry of Steel Government of India for development of rail production technology, implementing requisite processes at different stages of production. In this very brief introduction, I request sir, please come and share his keynote address with all.
Good morning, everyone. Dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, our seniors, students, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to be here representing this Makers of Terrorism and commemorating Dr. Ashok Juwarkar's contribution to this field, which is really and that is not only is the memories of many who have worked with him, but it's examples. It is clearly you can visit those forests in Gurgaon mines. So my tribute, my homage to Dr. Ashok Juwarkar on this day
And on behalf of you, on behalf of Neely, I pray for his soul and for all in his family who must be following his steps and doing really excelling in the field. Uh, about talking about his contribution, there are two, three things which comes to fore. One thing that he was very much field oriented. More than theory, was very much field oriented, and he always talked about contribution from various stakeholders like policymakers, industry, and academia, and then all those were using and all those were polluting. So he was, I mean, it was more like all-inclusive approach involving all the stakeholders. And one of the fine example of that is what Vijay said about the forest, which is a forest created in oil premises based on his pioneer technology, wherein oil is preempted, and that forest or garden, whatever you call it, is named after him. It is named after Juwarkar. And another thing which he has always addressed to, that is education and awareness about the environment and the environmental issues. So then I was discussing with the director sir that yes, we should also be taking ahead of those missions of educating people and making people aware, because that's very much required, and more so with every year, every month. Perhaps this call is becoming more and more louder that we have to utilize all the resources available in this earth very judiciously. As if there is a famous adage that it is not that we have inherited it, rather which we have borrowed from our future generations. So all the assets, all the environmental things are borrowed from our future generations, so it has to be handled with care. So I think that was the second thing, that increasing educational awareness and increasing education and increasing the awareness. The third thing which I would like to say that we have talked a lot about Ganga for today. Today about this morning only when I was talking to my director of production Abdullah sir, he said we still have opportunity in our Domri Kujul mine. So I request NEERI to come forward and take a project in my Domri Kujul mine and do something which becomes an example in waste and management and environment systems for the country and for the rest of the world to see. So I hope this is an offer, and will so they will be kind enough to accept the offer. So you will be sending the formal request. Sure. So it will really a great honor for me to be present at the Secretary's office. Getting this day area is left for this early ago. So not taking much of time as all of you are waiting for Dr. Patil to address. So my tribute, my homage to Dr. Juwarkar, and I think the best report we can do is whatever ideal speech which he has said. We follow them and make this world forward future generations a better place to live. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Sir, for your address on this occasion, highlighting the pioneering work of late Dr. Ashok Juwarkar at Mobile in Ganga, and also stressing the importance of environmental education for the relevance of environmental conservation and sustainable development, so that we have better world for all in the future. With this, I request our director to present a memento to our distinguished guests.
Accept. I will not disagree. There are some skills. This small.
With this, now we move to the section where now, as many of us are waiting for the 2023 Ashok Juwarkar Memorial Lecture, and we have with us chief guest Dr. N.G. Patil. Before I invite him for his memorial lecture address, I'll give a brief introduction of Dr. N.G. Patil. He did his BTech in Agriculture Engineering and MTech in Soil and Water Conservation Engineering. He obtained his PhD in soil and water conservation and engineering, and his research areas are land use planning, water resources, crop water management, climate resilient agriculture, land resource inventory, predictive soil mapping, watershed development, and soil hydraulic properties. Dr. Patil has wide national and international R&D experience in the field of agriculture and environment. He was awarded the Australia Awards Fellowship by Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Australian government, to undertake research on digital agriculture for food and soil security. He not only imparted training to agriculture trade partners in India, but has also implemented various technological options to reduce water consumption, promote effective and efficient use of water resources, inhibit soil degradation, and reduce environmental and social impacts on agriculture. The algorithms developed by him are currently used by multinational corporations for infrastructure development across the country and also abroad. Dr. Patil has received many prestigious honors and awards, such as Fellow of Indian Society of Soil Survey and Land Use Soil Planning. He is also chief editor of Agrophilology Journal and many other such journals. He has published more than 60 research papers in high impact research papers in national and international journals, and most of these journals have very high mass ranking. Dr. Patil is presently director of ICR, National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning in Nagpur, and it's our privilege to have him here for this occasion. With this very brief introduction, I'll now invite Sir for his 2023 Dr. Ashok Memorial Juwarkar lecture. Sir.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Everybody is of the dais, so I can say dignitaries of the dais. It is a moment of privilege and honor to me that I have been invited to deliver Dr. Ashok Juwarkar Memorial Lecture. As is said, human endeavor for bettering the life, the community, the mankind is never ending. And on such a day when a great scientist, a great researcher, a great innovator and intellect has done his bit for the country or for the mankind, it is a moment of reflection, bunch of our thoughts reaching out to the person who did so much for the society in general. And it is also a moment of drawing some inspiration from these wonderful deeds. And unlike many other events, we the scientists, we the researchers, the students, do not make it as a perfunctory job to remember somebody. We try to learn from the mentor, from our predecessors who have done something. And in the same way, I also pray to the God that please give me a strength and to you as well for keeping this endeavor in a constant spiral or I would say a constant chain, so that knowledge keeps on advancing. So with these few words of paying a tribute to Dr. Juwarkar, let me come to the topic first. The first thing I noted here is events are outnumbering myths. That is a great thing. Perhaps Dr. Juwarkar would have been happy to note it. Maybe 20 years back, he did not have such an audience. So that way, it is a great change in the society, great change in India. Okay, so I will try to make it as interesting as possible because the topic is, I mean, the kind of work that we are doing, sometimes it's so boring to others who are not interested in the subject. And since we have a diverse population, I will try to focus on certain things that perhaps and hopefully will sound something better to you. So I'll also use this opportunity to create some awareness about the resources of the country, especially land and water. As you know, India is one of the poorest country in terms of per capita land availability. No other country in the world has such a poor state of land and as well as water resources. Then another thing of concern is since uh, India's independence, the same number, 145 million hectare area has been reported as a cultivated land in the country, and that number has never changed. Repeatedly, every year we get like slopes about queries for countries, how much it is the area cultivated, and we keep on replying the same thing again, again, and again. And despite having advanced so much space technology and all that, we still persist with these numbers. So these are in some way not real numbers. But let me tell you, the thing is how if it is 140 million hectare and still we are diverting agriculture land into so many infrastructural projects, roads and building so many things. The and even then, how come the production has not come down? How are we sustaining such a huge population? The reason being, we have brought every inch of land under cultivation, and that is a worrisome point for us. India is already exceeding 50% of its geographical area of total reported area, and that is nowhere else in the world. So that indeed, as an environment institute, I think perhaps you will be more interested in knowing that more than 50% of the area is cultivated. We have less than 22 or 23% of area under forest, and rest of the area is being used for some diverse purposes. So that is one thing. Then shrinking average size of as an agriculture researcher, there are so many challenges in India. One of them is some 20 years back, if my forefathers were holding 20 acres long land, now it has come down to 2 acres or 1 acre, making it totally economically unviable parcel size. And yet, government and community and society expect us, agricultural researchers, to keep on innovating so that even a half acre farmer can somehow survive and keep on driving the economy, which is next to impossible. But somehow we have managed to survive for 75 years and probably will keep on surviving maybe another 20, 30 years, but not more than that. So that is another thing. The decline in fertilizer and water use efficiency is a worrisome factor. As you can see, right now, India's per capita water availability is just about an average per capita availability in the world. I mean, I'm talking about globe. Now, it is so much skewed. I mean, the number gives you so much comfort that we are almost about at world average. But if you take out endogenetic plants, you are left with nothing. Especially you are sitting in Maharashtra. Maharashtra is far poorer than any other North Indian state. So this is another thing. And you may be aware of groundwater declining groundwater levels and all that. So I would repeat those things. So on the one hand, we have some reports that food production is stagnating. On the other hand, every year we have some lot of wastage of food or wastage of grains. So there are so many things, but most important thing right now is climate change. Everybody is worried about climate change. It's not only agriculture; it is all encompassing. Can somebody assist me? I'm not very familiar with this. Okay, so let me introduce my institution first. We are a national headquarters at Nagpur, and I have 5 regional stations catering to different regions of the country, and every center has its own jurisdictions and 4 or 5 states. So right now the headquarter is catering to western part of the country. That includes Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh. I don't really tell about other things, I think. So we are mandated to conduct soil survey and mapping of the soils, then promote research in National Agriculture Research System, and then of course training and education. What makes us unique is no other university, be it traditional university or agriculture university or no other CSIR or any other institute in India is doing this work. We are the only institute in India that is doing soil survey or land resources inventory mapping. So in a way, we are indispensable. And if you go by the lighter side, you can say there's no other institution that is buying your soil water. Anyway, so what we are doing right now is keeping with the current trend. We are using a lot of remote sensing and GIS technologies for mapping. India is such a huge country. First soil map of the country took almost more than 20 years, and that too at very poor scale. And it is just impossible nowadays. Ministry keeps on asking us, why can't you advise us land parcel wise advisory if they want? I mean, each and every farmer should be advised. Now, you can imagine 100 odd scientists sitting at different centers of India and advising such a big population. So, anyway, we have resorted to some digital techniques, and just I'm showing these things that we are also into digital technologies. Just to make the facilities here. Please, I want to click on this hyperlink. Click on that. Okay, so okay. It is taking some time to move. I'll just try to tell how we proceed. Can you see some 3D image of a village near Gakwarda? Right? There are some 10, 15 villages. And it is a landform map superimposed on Google Earth. You can see some drain lines, some fields, some water bodies, and some lower portions, flatland, and all that. Why I am showing this is because I'm trying to explain my job. See, we follow the concept of reach to valley. Like, as the soil or water, both elements, the water drop starts from hill or ridge and then goes down to valley. On the way, it carries some soil particles. Some particles are deposited on the way. Some particles are deposited in the plains. That is how your soil is formed. So water as well as soil, they cannot be separated, at least from my perspective. So this is how the soils are formed. Now, you can imagine if I'm asked to study the soils, you can note some different colors, right? If you are able to note some colors, these are different soils. And this is only due to some particular chemistry. But chemistry may not be prominently visible in each and every image. So there are some other properties as well. So there are variations. What I'm trying to say is there are some 10 to 12 different types of soil here. You may be able to detect only 3 or 4, but at least one types of soils are there. And then there is a difference of elevation. So just keep this particular image in your mind. Now, As you move away from the ridge to bottom, right? In this particular slide, I have tried to show some soils. You can see the profile. We study the genesis of the soil. We go deep as much as 2 meters or still is like a rock. So you can see the different colors, different types of soils, different types of texture. So each soil will have its own type of texture. It may have more amount of sand or different particle sizes, I meant to say. So suffice to say that the depth, texture, chemical properties of soil particles change with the elevation, and there is a variation. That is the point. You can see again different colors within the same village or watershed. I hope everybody is comfortable with the concept of watershed. Do I need to tell it? Somebody can respond. No. Okay. So we are now moving from satellite images to airborne images and slowly now into drone imaging to map our soils and map our landforms and do some predictive modeling of soils. So as I told you, took us a long time to prepare first soil map of the country, that too at 4 scale because we study the genesis of the soils as well. Studying one profile itself sometimes takes 3 to 4 hours. You can imagine that. So what is that we have done for the country? Till now, we have prepared so many data sets for the country, and now these data sets are being used for different purposes. I won't go into the details. So why do we do this business? Why do we do land resource inventory, or why do we study soils? The reason is once you have soil map or soil information of the country or the region or the state in a place, what can you do? You can use that data for improving your soil productivity, crop planning. Then you can encourage or promote a commercial crop like rubber, tea, coffee. Then land degradation of this that will be your interest as well. India is committed to achieving land degradation neutrality for around 30 million hectares by 2030. So then there is watershed management, irrigation management, and carbon sequestration, and so many things. So for all this, we require soil data. And unfortunately, even today, we don't have sufficient soil data of the country. Then, having collected the soil data, what do we do? The next step is evaluate. Evaluate the soils that we have studied, marry it with the weather data or climate data, and then other biological parameters, and find out whether the information could be used for drawing some inferences. Like what? Let us say somewhere 25 or 30 years back, we were asked India is to be made self-sufficient in cooking medium. I mean to say edible oil. Okay. Now, even now, India imports certain part. But how can we reduce it? The challenge was to bring more area under sunflower. Now, where are these areas? What is its spatial distribution? Can industry survive there? So that kind of reporting or mapping was entrusted with us. And I think I did not go into the details, but you can very well note from the fact that 30 years back, nobody had heard of sunflower oil. And now almost it is in every kitchen. So that sort of revolutionized. Then some 10 or 15 years have passed since maize regulation. How did it happen? Telangana government approached us and they said, as the crow flies from Hyderabad to Arabian countries, the flight reaches right at the time of sunrise. So every Arabian sheikh can have poultry, eggs, or whatever meat he wants in his plate in the morning, right at the time of breakfast. So that is an advantage India has. Now we want to utilize. So tell us the area within 100-kilometer periphery of Hyderabad city so that we can transport the fresh meat to airport and from airport to Arabian countries. So we want to take advantage of the location of Hyderabad. So our job was to find out how much area is suitable for maize cultivation so that it can be fed to the poultry birds. So make suitability mapping. This is such a simple exercise it sounds. Okay. So, but it changed the economy of Telangana. And right now, I think Telangana is the sole supplier to not only to Arabian countries, but to India as well. So, if you shift the focus from commodity, I have given you narrated some examples of commodity, but it could be resource conservation, it could be for wildlife conservation, creating some corridors for animals, protecting wildlife, and so many other things like carbon sequestration, protecting our forest or afforestation. You want to promote a certain species or certain plants in a given area. Now, how do you do that? We are working with Forest Department of Maharashtra to identify areas that are suitable for promoting certain afforestation schemes or for certain species. Then the soft kind of support. Soft support, when I'm talking about, is delineating country into different classes or regions based on its biological resources. Soil is just a base, because it has to interact with the climate. Okay. So we prepared a map of agroecological vision map of India for the sake of planning, and that is being used. Then we divided the country into agroecological sub-regions. And of course, I have talked about this rubber suitability, coffee, tea. This maps, giving an example, it could be applicable for promoting tea plantation, coffee plantation, rubber plantation. And right now, Indian government of India is promoting oil palm. So, as I said, I won't dwell much upon soil properties or soil resource inventory. You will be interested in knowing how to use soil data, whatever data that has been generated by the Bureau. So, the global experience tells us that if you keep on telling the people that do this, do that, nobody cares. Nobody listens unless there is a commercial interest, or there is a policy that is committed by the governments, just like land degradation neutrality set by UN or Government of India. Unless there is some push from due to political will, nobody would be interested in land use planning as such. And that is what has happened in India as well. Except for some parts of Northeast India where zone cultivation is still prevailing, otherwise there is no political will or a demand from the society to do certain things. However, I would still say that there are some interests, like just like I talked about oil palm. So it may not be expressed explicitly, but somewhere there is a method and means and will to use land resource inventory or information. So I'm going to narrate a few case studies. I think we have seen that for the map. I won't go into that. If you recall, the image I showed earlier had some hills, some sloping lands, and some flat lands. Now, what I'm trying to tell here is how space technology and our soil information collected over last 20 or 40 years could be useful. Now, if you it's fine. You can see some deep soils, some shallow soils. Logic tells me that hilly parts should have shallow soils and plant lands should have some deep soils. Now, that is the thing. Each and every village and each and every watershed could be divided into such categories. It may not be a very big hill or big mountain, but it would still have some elevational difference in each and every village. So right now, what we are trying to do is, this is a demonstrative study that is being done for government of Maharashtra for achieving climate resilient target or objective. Now we have identified some deep soils, we have identified for some shallow soils. Those are very in nature. Now why I am showing it here is how it would be related with NEERI. You can see some deep soils that are prone to waterlogging. I have put a question mark. Now, if there is a continuous wet spell for 13, 15 days, what is happening? These are deep soils, these are clay soils, these are flatlands. It's a combination. This combination of factors leads to waterlogging. And the moment there is waterlogging, there is bound to be pest and disease. And the moment you say there is likelihood of pest and disease, what you have done effectively is you have made some hotspots for each and every village. So soil information, when used with satellite data, can give you such details. And what it will give me is a proactive role. I will not wait for a farmer to report to me that disease has occurred or pest is attacking. And the agricultural officers can proactively sense that this is going to happen in these parts of the watershed or a village. And they can instruct the official posted over there to go visit and interact with the farmers or just invite photographs from them to judge whether it is really happening or there is ecosystem building up that is conducive to pest and disease. So this is something innovative. I mean, nobody else in the world has done it. We are trying to do it in Maharashtra. And the thing is, as far as Maharashtra is concerned, these shallow soils are always invariably occurring. I mean, because of our particular peninsular India also, Maharashtra, not only Maharashtra, all of the peninsular India is totally different compared to intermediate plains. So you can very well say that all the shallow soils in Maharashtra or peninsular India are less fertile. We can easily make that statement. If that is true, it is a proxy for fertility as well. So in a way, through using this pest technology, I have guessed where the shallow soils are, where my less fertile soils are, and which are the nutrient deprived soils. So at the click of a mouse, probably in the near future, agriculture officer or even collector would be knowing what is the soil moisture status right now. Okay, using this best technologies combined with, of course, with legacy data. So this is what I was coming to: available water capacity or how much water is right now available in the soil. And once you know the soil moisture availability, whole of India or any monsoon agriculture is driven by this one particular factor. Nothing is precious to the farmer or the monsoon dependent country than knowing the soil moisture constant content on any given day. And we are still not able to do real time prediction. We are building the systems, we are doing some research, but it will take some time. So we have made great considerable progress, and Karnataka, our station in Bangalore, they have moved far ahead of others because of proximity to stress technologies available there, experts, and also IT enabled propagation. So some of the villages, to give you an example, right now the rains have not been so good, not so kind. So if, let us say, some of the villages I showed you were located in the hilly parts. Okay, they had shallow side, they had some nutrient problems. Now, if the rains are not good, obviously they are facing trouble right now. And if there is a dry spell in the next 7 or 8 days, the crops are going to die in those villages. Not everywhere, but those in those hilly villages. Now, if I have that data, that in a district or in a village, how much area is prone to failure right now? Okay, so I can easily give using this data type related to fertility and fertility related to production. Then another interesting thing is land use land cover. Now you can see some areas in sort of brown or red color, right? Now that red color area is shallow soils area, and that is also barren. Now, if I'm talking about NDDB, I think NDDB was introduced in Vidarbha some 5 or 8 years earlier. There also, when we interacted, the question I posed to them is whether we have land use land cover data, or let's forget land use land cover. Simply tell me how much Gairan is left. I think Gairan everybody understands. Okay? The land devoted for grazing or left in the village for grazing. Now, this reserve grazing lands have been disappearing at a very fast pace. There is virtually no grazing lands left in western Maharashtra or North Maharashtra. Little is still scenario is little bit better in Vidarbha. That is something out of compulsion, not because of protection or conservation efforts. The thing is, these lands could be utilized, but you need to gather this data. How much is the land available for grazing, and then like your daily or livestock, it will be fine. Otherwise, then so many states, so many governments have tried to replicate Amul and those models, and so many states have failed. But when you have data, why not use it? Unfortunately, such data are becoming available only now. And even now, there is, as I said, I will try to use this opportunity to raise the awareness. The thing is, our technocrats or bureaucrats are not aware of this capabilities or data-driven decisions. Lately, they got now with modern jungles. So just to continue with the example, this is a watershed, or you can simply say a map of some 5 to 10 villages. This is showing what? It is showing 20 soils with less than 25 centimeter depth. Now, these soils are inherently low in production. Now, if that land parcel is happened to be owned by a farmer who doesn't have much of resources, you can easily overlay the information of below poverty line with this soil layer. Okay. The moment you know that this is the farmer who is already under the poverty line, and then he happens to own this particular land parcel, it gives me the most vulnerable farmer or the target beneficiary, in other words. So if government of Maharashtra or government of India wants to help a real person in need, this data is helpful. Okay. Now, another thing is, we may be aware that any person holding more than, less than 2 hectares of land is called a small farmer, right? And less than 1 hectare is marginal farmer. And most of our subsidies or schemes are aimed at benefiting small and marginal farmers. But if I have a farmer in Bihar and a farmer in Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra, what is the difference? This data can make a difference. Because in IGP, even if you have half acre of land, that would support a family of 5%. And in Maharashtra, even if you have 5 acres of land, it cannot support a family of 5%. So our definitions has to have to be changed. And if I want to change the definition, I have to come up with a hard data that proves me. Okay. So unfortunately, though we have been arguing for changing definitions, so far we have not succeeded. And it is still a matter of concern whether it comes to insurance or crop insurance, whether it comes to identifying the most needy farmers or the most vulnerable population. Though we are making progress, it is slow. Then I have another map that is showing little better soils, 25 to 50 centimeter in depth. Now you can see that these are 20% compared to the whole of the total area of the watershed. Now this is in this village or these land parcels can withstand the drought or dry spell better than shallow soil area, right? So using space technology, I can shoot an advice every day to these particular farmers that you have better soil or you have better soil moisture content. So I hope somebody will remind me when I come to reach the end of the time allotted to me. Otherwise, I will overstep. So the policy implications, these are the important things for me or for an administrator when I'm interacting with state officials or government of India officials. What does it tell me? So the first thing point I have already made, that definition of marginal small and medium farmer has to be reconsidered. Okay. Then I think we talked about wastelands, wetlands. Moil has done something about it. These wetlands, of course, your perspective will be different, but these wastelands have been brought under cultivation. So to give you an example, Yavatmal, everybody has heard. I hope everybody knows. most suicide-prone district of India. Now, what has happened? Last 25 years or so, there are two significant events that have happened. First is because of because there is no other livelihood means, even the most or worst kinds of land that are simply lying barren wasteland have been brought under cultivation. Zabardasti say, because there is no other option to survive. Now, if you start cultivating land that was not supposed to be cultivated, what will happen? Even in a good year, even in a good monsoon year, it is not going to respond very well. You will be lucky to get something, and in a poor year, you are bound to get. So, in Yavatmal district alone, 20% of the land has been brought under cultivated only 20 years. So, one in every 5 farmer is always going to come to you crying in almost every year, or at least 4 times in 5 years ahead. Okay. So when you are starting on a run hole, you are bound to fail. First thing. Second thing is the most important thing is advent of BT technology. Everybody has heard of BT technologies that are now being used. Government of India did not permit BT technologies for serial production, at least serial grains, I mean to say. But fibers permission has been given. So we have BT cotton. So when it was introduced in India somewhere in 2005-7, everybody adopted it or embraced it very easily, forgetting that the BT cotton requires guaranteed source of irrigation. It is not meant for rainfed farming. The area almost doubled in Vidarbha itself. Right now we are sitting here in Vidarbha, but everywhere else as well in peninsular India. The area doubled. The farmers did not realize that it is not meant for rainfed farming. So initially, as long as China was producing or procuring our cotton, it was fine. The economy was booming. The moment global requirement or global procurement slowed down, the rates came down, crashing, and then suicide started. Otherwise, even a marginal farmer who was, I said, will be always trying, was drawing some money, was getting some income. So he was not worried about what kind of land is available to him. He was somehow, and his aspirations started growing. Because even from a land parcel that is least likely to give me anything is now giving me cotton worth 30,000 or 40,000 a year, I would be happy. And my aspirations will always grow. So that started coming down and in fact it crashed. And that is how, I mean, one of the perspective I'm telling, I may not be 100% right, but one of the perspective is the suicide started occurring only after combination of these factors. So this is where, as a bureau, as a land manager, we can help. Another interesting thing is livestock population in India is declining. Why it is declining? There is so much land cry about the methane gas emission and all those. We must be hearing those things every day. But livestock population in general is declining because farmers are no longer able to maintain the bullock herd. Mechanization, especially in western part of India and peninsular India, the first thing is your land parcel is so small that it is not viable to purchase tractor and other things. It is also not viable to maintain a bullock there. It is not also viable to maintain a cow. There is so much talk about maintaining a cow and all that, and it gives manure and maintains your farm and all that. But where do we get the fodder to feed the cow or we don't have? The moment you sell out cow or bullocks, what happens? Earlier, if you look at the farming system or the kind of farming that was done in Vidarbha or nearby, you will find that sorghum was cultivated. After 2007, sorghum is completely gone out of cultivation. Why? Because of petty cotton. Now, once sorghum has gone out of cultivation, there are double effects. One is, I used to have sorghum for my family. I did not buy wheat or rice from outside, that is gone. Then I also had some fodder from sorghum crop to kill my bullocks and cows. So whatever milk that was available, that is also gone. So virtually the farmer is not able to pay himself from his own land parcel. Now, dependence on everything for external market you have to go. So dependence has increased. So because of that, the other crop is soybean, again a commercial produce. Nothing is kept in the family, for family consumption. So these factors have led, as I said, this is a combination of factors. So advent of a single battery technology has impacted Indian agriculture so much. And this is just an example. Worst example I would say is Juwarkar. So likewise, livestock decline is declining because we are not no longer able to provide land resources. Then the third impact is uh, when I advise the farmer, look, why do you grow cotton? You have so many problems over here in Vidarbha or even in Karnataka or Telangana. Why do you grow cotton? Why can't you go for black cotton? So many other options are there. He said, sir, I know. I don't need your advice for that. The thing is, Wildlife Act came into being, I think, somewhere 20 years back. It became punishable offense to kill an Indian antelope. We unfortunately we have not conducted wildlife census for this herbivora for last 20 years. So whatever population that was there in 2000 has quadrupled or more than 8 times it has increased, and we still have the same amount of land for heritage. So obviously there is an overabundance, increase in number, that there is no land carrying capacity is limited. So what will happen? Naturally, they will destroy your profits. So farmers say, sir, we understand your concern, but can you protect me from these wild animals? If you cannot, don't have any option because cotton and soybean are the two crops that are somehow protected. Because soybean is better intake, cotton is totally useless. So these crops have not to be grown. So we are forced to grow cotton and soybean. Not that we don't understand. So these are some ground realities. So the point I'm trying to make you aware is land use planning or land management in the country is such a complex thing, and yet we have to keep on finding the base. And one of the answers is drone technology. We have to survive within 130 or 140 million hectare land that is allotted to farming, that is cultivated, and in near future it is going to decrease and decrease and decrease. So the only option for us is to utilize the same parcel of land again and again, maybe single crop to double crop to triple crop, and then you need for water for that. We are also facing water crisis. So I won't go. I think I'll be exceeding my time limit. But let me tell you at the end that whatever points I have raised, that are not out of pessimism. I don't want to paint a green picture, okay, especially for the young generation. I just want to make you aware of the challenges that you are likely to face. So, space technologies combined with our intellect, our soil data, our soil information, and the talent that country is producing right now, whether it is artificial intelligence or any other disruptive technologies, these technologies hold promise for the future. But at the same time, we must realize that whatever that is with us is property of somebody else. That is property of my grandson or the coming generation. I am not the owner. I have simply inherited it from my father, forefathers, and I am bound to pass it on to someone else. And that is why I need to be a real guardian. I need to be a protector. I need to be a conservator. And I appeal here that it will be a real tribute to Dr. Juwarkar if we pledge to use our land and water resources sustainably, efficiently, I hope the message is loud and clear. Okay. Yeah, last point. Though I am from agriculture, I thought CSIR Institute will be happy to know that we are helping some non-traditional areas as well. So just now you can see this is the transmission line. Now, how transmission line or any company engaged in power transmission, laying roads, railway tracks, solar farming, energy, water conveyance lines, all these infrastructural companies or corporations require soil data. Where do they need it? They are interested in civil structures. They want to raise, let us say in Europe, some Indian IT company gets a contract to monitor their optical fiber network. Okay, and they want to raise the towers over there. So they don't have enough manpower or expertise. So we use this opportunity that using space technologies and expertise available with the NBSS, we can predict what is the soil depth. And once we know the soil depth and texture, we can predict what are the engineering properties of soils that you need to know. And we using those technologies, I feel happy that though we are in agriculture, at least 27 countries, as far as I remember, 27 countries have been helped through our industrial partners in generating their infrastructure through this a small bit of work. I mean, it requires a lot of many other things, but we are sharing, providing, giving them consultancy over this engineering properties of soils, and this data are used by their planners, their civil engineers, who lay down their. Even in India, I think around 1.5 lakh kilometers of optical fiber network has been laid down with the help of NGSS and LUP. So that brings me to an end of the lecture. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. I hope it was interesting. I don't know if it's little bit difficult to explain agricultural technologies to especially the persons who are engaged in mostly urban technologies. Maybe though I know that you have special division for rural area as well. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir, for highlighting the relevance of MBSS and LFP, and especially understanding a lot of work that MBSS and LFP is doing to improve our understanding as well as to provide solutions and support to the government of India. You highlighted the importance of and the concern that how arable land is shrinking in the country and how soil mapping properties MBSS is doing using satellite-based data, what soil landform relationships are, how predictive modeling of soil can help the country, developing several national data sets of the country. Even after so much of work, you also highlighted the insufficient soil data. We don't have enough of data for the country on soil. Most importantly, the examples of land use planning that are relevant for fulfilling the requirements of the country, and also about Maharashtra, how shallow soil and nutrient deficiency is affecting the farmers, and also related to a lot of suicides in Yavatmal and other parts of the country or parts of the state. So I think that despite it was very relevant, I think it also highlighted to many new challenges that these new generations are going to face. And I think many of these the guests are going to be next generation of scientists and researchers to contribute to this information. In this, I thank you again, sir. And I now request our director to present a memento as a token of gratitude for your excellent lecture to all of us. Thank you, sir, once again. And now I request Juwarkar Kumariji to raise the vote of thanks for this program.
आदरणीय विशिष्ट अतिथि सेना सर, एसीपी सर, महोदय और आप सभी साथी, बहुत अच्छा लेक्चर था। जो आज का जो हमारा जुवारकर जो अशोक जुवारकर से जिन्होंने शुरू किया था मिशन लैंड रिजुवेनेशन का, नेरी में एक वैज्ञानिक थे और उन्होंने जिस तरह से एक आयाम दिया इस चीज को, बहुत सराहनीय है और वो चीज अभी भी चल रही है। तो मैं हमारे जो दोनों स्पीकर्स थे, डिस्टिंग्विश्ड और तो मैं तो नेरी के प्रांगण में उनका जो स्पीच था उसको उतारने का कोशिश करता हूँ, क्योंकि स्टूडेंट्स बैठे हुए थे। उन्होंने जिस चीज कही है वो मुख्य अतिथि का मैं लेता हूँ, तो उन्होंने ये कहा कि जो चीजें हैं, जो हमारी सॉइल प्रॉपर्टीज है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करती है पर्यावरण को संरक्षित रखने में, या फिर हमारे समाज के हर तबके के विशेषता फार्मर्स के लिए जो भी सॉइल प्रॉपर्टीज या फिर सॉइल डेटा की बात की, उन्हें सॉइल इंफॉर्मेशन पहुंचाना आज की जरूरत है। और नेरी के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि नेरी आपको आपने जो विजिट की होगी, आज स्टूडेंट्स को मैं एड्रेस कर रहा हूँ, आपने जितने डिविजन्स देखे, ब्रीफ किया गया आपको, तो वहां पे आपने देखा होगा प्रमुखता से हम जो पर्यावरण है जिसमें वायु आता है, जिसमें जल आता है, जिसमें मिट्टी आती है, सॉइल, तो सॉइल बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करता है। चाहे किसी भी इंटरेक्शन हो, किसी इकोसिस्टम में उससे सॉइल का इंटरेक्शन हो, हवा से हो, पानी से हो, ग्राउंड वाटर हो, सरफेस वाटर हो, तो सबके लिए प्रॉपर्टीज जानना बहुत जरूरी है और नेरी भी ये काम करता है। तो मुझे लगता है सर, आपने जो आज लेक्चर दिया, हमारे यहाँ काफी सारे स्टडीज चलते हैं प्रोजेक्ट्स में, तो जो आपका जो सॉइल डेटा है, तो वो काफी एक नया चीज है, क्योंकि आपने डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी जो सॉइल की डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी इस पे काम किया है, तो हमारे लिए नेरी के लिए काफी उपयोगी हो सकती है इसी प्रोजेक्ट में, क्योंकि उन्होंने जितनी सारी चीजें बताई उसमें, जो अपने मिशन में जो भी सॉइल प्रॉपर्टीज को लेके, और उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि फार्मर्स को डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट पहुंचा जा सकता है। तो मुझे लगता है कि एनवायरमेंटल इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट जो हम स्टडी करते हैं, तो शायद उसमें भी डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट उसका जो है हमें आपके डेटा से कोई भी रीजन हो, क्योंकि रीजन स्पेसिफिक हम भी स्टडीज करते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है एक ये बहुत उपयोगी हमारे लिए हो सकता है। दूसरी चीज जो हमारे विशिष्ट अतिथि है, हमारे जो सीएमडी साहब है ऑयल के, उन्होंने कहा एक चीज, जो प्रोजेक्ट उन्होंने कहा, शायद डोंगरी बुजुर्ग सर, डोंगरी बुजुर्ग का जो प्रोजेक्ट देने की बात कही, जो जुवारकर सर ने जो काम किया था इसमें माइंस पॉल्टन घूमगांव के लिए, सिमिलर लाइन पे उन्होंने एक सजेशन दिया है कि आप काम करें और जो माइंस पॉल्टन है उसको आप रिजुविनेट करें। हम सर कोशिश करेंगे उसकी, और आपसे अलग से उसकी बात करेंगे। और निदेशक महोदय का भी बहुत बहुत थैंक्स, उन्होंने बहुत है उनके हमारे जुवारकर मेमोरियल के जो जुवारकर साहब थे हमारे, उनका जो उन्होंने एक आउटलाइन दी उनकी कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन के बारे में, और ये मैं बता दूं आपको कि उनका जो काम है वो मतलब सालों साल वही चल रहा है। और पर्यावरण देखिए ऐसा नया कुछ नहीं है, डायनामिक रहेगा हमेशा, पर्यावरण वही रहेगा, वायु पोल्यूशन वही रहना है, चाहे 500 साल हो जाए, 1000 साल आगे चले जाए, पर्यावरण वही रहेगा, हवा वही रहेगी है, मिट्टी वही रहेगी, पानी वही रहेगा, सिर्फ बदलेगा क्या, आज जो मैं नहीं रहूंगा यहाँ पे, आप नहीं रहेंगे, कोई और रहेगा, बातें यही करेगा और चलेगा बदस्तूर सिलसिला, यही वायु और जल जो मिट्टी है उसका, टेक्नोलॉजीज बदलती रहेंगी, लेकिन पर्यावरण पे प्रभाव कम नहीं होगा, क्योंकि डेवलपमेंट जो है हमारी कंटिन्यू प्रोसेस है। तो मैं इसी के साथ साथ आपका बहुत बहुत थैंक्स, आप यहाँ पे शेयर करके आए हैं, अपना समय अपने वैल्यूबल दिया। मैं सीएमडी मॉइल हमारे सक्सेना सर उनका भी, और डॉक्टर एजी पाटिल उनका भी, और नीतीश मोदी उनका भी, और मैं विशेष रूप से हमारे जो मॉइल के डायरेक्टर आए हैं प्रोडक्शन एंड प्लानिंग एमएम अब्दुल्ला, उनका विशेष रूप से मैं शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगा। सर आपने जो बात कही है उसको डूंगरी बुजुर्ग के लेके, तो इसमें हम जरूर प्रयास करेंगे, रेडी से जितना संभव मदद सभी करेंगे, और बाकी मेरे सभी साथी और विशेष रूप से वरिष्ठ जो हमारे सहयोगी रहे हैं, इनवाइटीज, हमारे एम्प्लॉइज, साइंटिस्ट, उनका मैं बहुत बहुत थैंक्स करता हूँ, और अपने प्रेजेंट एम्प्लॉइज जो साइंटिस्ट है, वो ऑफिशियल्स है, उनका भी बहुत बहुत थैंक्स, स्टूडेंट्स, टीचर्स, सभी रिसर्च फेलोज, प्रोजेक्ट असिस्टेंट्स, आप सभी का धन्यवाद। सभी डिविजन्स और सेक्शंस जो डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली रूप से इस कार्यक्रम में जुड़े रहे, उन सभी का थैंक्स और उन सभी को धन्यवाद देता हूँ, और हमारी शालिनी मैडम को भी थैंक्स, और मेरे जितने सहयोगी है मेरे डिवीजन के, अली को देख पा रहा हूँ, कावड़े जी है, सभी को मैं ये मत सोचिएगा कि किसी का नाम नहीं ले रहा हूँ तो मैं बायस हो रहा हूँ, मैं कभी भी किसी के साथ बायस नहीं होता, ये आप मान नहीं चलिए। लेकिन मैं उनसे क्षमा चाहता हूँ जिनका नाम किया उनके लिए। और अंत में आप सभी का फिर से धन्यवाद। और मेरे जो रिपोर्टर्स हैं जो ये आज कवर करेंगे, कुछ है कुछ ऑनलाइन जुड़े हुए हैं, उनका भी बहुत बहुत थैंक्स। और मुझे लगता है वो कवरेज अच्छा देंगे और देते ही हमेशा। तो मैं इसी के साथ यहाँ पे कार्यक्रम की समाप्ति की घोषणा करता हूँ, लेकिन इससे पहले मैं आप सभी को अनुरोध करता हूँ कि आप अपने स्थान पर खड़े होंगे राष्ट्रगान की।
अशुभ नाम जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गावे तब जय गाना जय गण मंगल गान जय भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 जय
थैंक यू। आप बैठ जाएंगे क्योंकि डिग्निटरी इसको पहले मैं अनुरोध करता हूँ कि जाने दें। ठीक है।